Hey, how's it going? Brad Riley here and welcome to another video. Now in this one today, I have something a little bit different. I actually have a story for you. And my hope with this video is a couple of things really. Number one, I hope you find a bunch of value and you actually learn something from it. And also I hope you can gain a bit of motivation from it. So yeah, without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into it. But before we do that, if you are new around here, be sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell. And if you haven't already, be sure to get on the waitlist for my brand new book that's coming out July 1st, 2020. So if you're watching this after that date, great, grab yourself a copy down below in the description. If not, join the waitlist to guarantee yourself one on release day. Without further ado, let's jump into today's story. So for anybody who's watched my channel for a long time, you'll probably know the base of my story. And if you don't, I recommend go and watch my other videos and that you go and check that out. But what I want to talk about today specifically is about the time that I actually applied to work at a social media agency and ended up, instead of taking that job, starting my own agency. This is something I've not ever discussed before, and I actually think it's quite an important part of my story. So throw back to probably about 4 years ago at this point now, and I was in a stage in my life where I was working a job that I really disliked. I was working at a place called Co-op. I was stacking shelves for minimum wage. I was also a university student, so I did what everybody was told to do, which is go to school, go to university, graduate and get a job. I just followed that trajectory, right? So I went to university, I did business studies, I actually ended up dropping out, and then I started accounting and finance, and that was even worse. But at the time I was studying accounting and finance, and I knew that university wasn't for me. I was like, look, I really want to start my own online business, but at the same time, you know, anything has got to be better than working at Co-op. Anything has got to be better than being a university student. So I started to think about, okay, what do I enjoy? Now, if you actually follow my story, you know the reason I actually started my online business is because I was on holiday in Bali, and the whole time I was there, I had a great time, but I was dreading coming back to work. So I sat down with a notepad, wrote down all the things that I could do and offer as a service, and came back to start my business. But in between that time frame from when I got back and started my business, there was a stage where I generally contemplated going to work another job for another agency or for a social media company and going down that route instead of starting my own business, just because, again, it was a lack of understanding really that I could go out and do it myself. So actually, funny enough, I found where I lived at the time, a social media agency just around the corner, about a 2-minute walk away. Now, this was like a renowned social media agency, really small team, and the owner was actually a young entrepreneur, won a bunch of awards, which is really great. And I went on their website and it said something about they're not specifically hiring right now, but if you're a great fit for the team, they'd consider it. So, and it said something about getting creative with ways to apply for the job and reach out. So what I did is I did some research into it and I looked through their social media pages, and I noticed that every single Friday, just based off of their Twitter feed, they would go to a restaurant just down the road, like a few doors down from their agency, every single Friday as a team. So what I ended up doing, I came up with this creative idea, and by the way, I actually think this was still a great idea to go and get that job, and I think it kind of almost is entrepreneurial in effect, but you know, if you do want to work a job, I think you could gain a lot from this if you want to particularly, like, you know, actually land yourself a good job. But what I actually ended up doing, which is crazy really, is I worked out that there was like, I think 4 people on the team that would go. Like I said, it was a very small agency, and I was thinking, okay, the average person would spend about £20 per meal. It's going to cost about £80. So what I ended up doing is I ended up taking out £80 and I hand delivered. I went to the agency, I knocked on the door, and I hand delivered a handwritten note and £80 in cash, and I said, I know you go to this restaurant every single Friday. Next time you go, lunch is on me. I'm really interested in potentially working together. If you're interested, you're currently looking for anybody, give me a call, right? Again, really standing out, paying extreme attention to detail, finding out the exact restaurant, searching through their Twitter, doing something with, again, being really selfless and saying, look, here's money and enjoy it on me. And then, you know, in return, hopefully getting a phone call and potentially at least getting an interview. Crazy thing is, a few days pass, don't hear anything. And then I had a missed call. I think I must have had to have gone to uni for the day, or I was at work and I had a missed call. Now, again, I honestly believe you make your own destiny, but this is one of the parts of fate that it blows my mind, okay? Because if I'd called a few seconds earlier, I may have ended up taking the interview and getting the job and not starting my own agency. But I was like, okay, cool, I missed that call. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna phone up. So I think they closed at like 5 p.m. and it was like 3 minutes to 5 p.m. And I picked up my phone and I gave them the phone call. And I said, hey, is the owner in? This is Brad. I had a missed call from him. And they were like, oh, actually, Brad, he's literally just left the door 60 seconds ago. Can you call back on Monday? Okay. And Crazy thing is, if I'd called 60 seconds earlier, maybe he would have taken the call, invited me to an interview, and I would have ended up getting the job. You know, I'd done a lot to stand out at that point. I had a YouTube channel, I'd known a decent amount about social media, and I clearly stood out on what they were looking for, so the chances are I may have got myself a job. But anyway, long story short there, I ended up just missing him by a few seconds. And that very weekend, and this is how crazy the world works, after all the hard work and everything I've put into place, that weekend was the weekend I stumbled upon Upwork, started reaching out to people, and ended up landing my own first meeting and landing my first client that next week. So I never ended up having to make that phone call back on the Monday to try and set up a meeting to go and work for them. Again, the thing here really, the biggest things for you here is like a motivational thing, right? I ended up, instead of taking the route of working for someone else at an agency, I ended up starting my own agency, which at its core was what I truly wanted. You know, desperation of university and working a job I disliked pushed me to the point where I was like, you know what, I'm not even gonna start my own business. I just wanna go and work for someone else's business because I hated it so much. But because I put so much hard work in and educating myself and learning and doing all this research and trying to build my other YouTube channel up and all this other stuff, all of that hard work, at the very last second, the opportunity fell into place where I called, I just about missed the call, and ended up, because of that, starting my own agency that very weekend. And it's one of those things where I think it's quite motivational, you know? Like, I could have worked for another agency, but instead I started my own, and that's led to everything that we're doing here today. And to the point now where I've helped people land millions of dollars in monthly revenue worth of clients for their agencies with my students and my training business. And that all stemmed from the fact that I didn't just go and work for somebody else. So my hope is really, like, from a motivational standpoint, if you want to start an agency, then guess what? Like, you really can do it. You don't have to just work a job that's better or a job that you enjoy. Like, if you really want to start a business, you can start a business. You don't have to necessarily go and work for someone else. Also, what I think is kind of a good point to take here is that it was a small agency. However, they've had a bunch of awards. It looked like a really great place to work, and I'd managed to pretty much have landed myself a meeting with the person, or I suppose an interview, because I did things outside of the box, you know, rather than just submitting an email, hey, you looking to hire somebody, or hey, are you currently hiring? I ended up just thinking, look, I want to go outside of the box here. I'm going to go to the door, like knock on the door, hand it to the owner himself and say, hey, when you get a second, take a look at this. Also, you know, going the extra mile to find out the specific restaurant, paying for a meal. And yeah, the crazy thing is, I'm almost certain that would have led to a job because of how much I did to stand out and how personal it was, right? And that's really what they were looking for. So, you know, what you can gain from this is, from an employment perspective, if you do want to go and get a job, you know, you want to get that promotion, or you want to try and get a job somewhere else and stand out. Treat it like an entrepreneur. Like, that was very entrepreneurial, you know, to stand out like that. It's almost like it's in a funny kind of way, it's like an experimental way of doing outreach, but it's to try and land a job. So, you know, there's that. And I think you could learn a thing or two from that if you are looking for employment. But if you're not and you're looking to close clients, things like that help you stand out. And I think there's a few lessons there that you can learn. But yeah, I just thought it was actually a really important part of my story that I've never really shared before. Like, I've not ever really touched on this topic when I discuss my main story. But actually it has a really important part to play, because like I said, if a few minutes before I'd made that phone call, or if perhaps I never missed the phone call in the first place, if I wasn't at university during that day. I think now that I look back, actually, I think I remember I was at university. I wasn't even working at the time. I was at uni. So if I'd missed that call, then if I'd not missed that call, or if I'd called back like a few seconds later, my world would have taken completely different direction potentially. So yeah, anyway, I hope you found a bunch of value in this. I just wanted to be open and honest and share that story with you. And I'd love to know your thoughts as well. If there's anything like that you've noticed yourself, if there's anything where almost, you know, is it kind of like the law of attraction? Is it the universe directing me in that way because I've worked so hard? I've visualized it. I've been obsessed with it. I've worked towards it every day. And when I got to that crossroads, my life took the direction that it was meant to, you know? Crazy, fate, luck, who knows, right? But I'd love to know if you have a scenario like that in your life where perhaps you got to a crossroads and your life took one direction, which ended up transforming it for the better when it could have gone in a completely other direction. So if you have a story like that, please let me know in the comments, and also let me know what you gain from this. And also, I want to do kind of once a week more of these like story time update type videos, because I want you to get to know me a bit better. And I think obviously it's really great to give you all of this actionable advice, but I think sometimes you can learn a lot based off of stories and things that have actually happened, as opposed to just giving you the black and white, like actionable steps. So if you'd like to see more content like this, again, please let me know in the comment section down below. But there you have it. There is a story of something that I've never told anyone before, but yeah, hopefully quite valuable nonetheless. Appreciate you so much for watching. Again, if you haven't already, make sure to grab yourself a copy of this book in the description down below. And also, if you want me to personally mentor you every single day, I want to invite you to check out my mastermind down below. Super reasonably priced. You get full access to me, weekly training, weekly live calls, daily articles. We've got hundreds of hours of content and training videos and templates and contracts and funnel templates and swipe and deploy stuff. Like, we've got a bunch of everything in the members area, and it's only $29 a month. So again, go and check that out in the description down below. Appreciate you being here, appreciate you watching, and I'll see you in the next video.